Okay, I was going through the PHP video and I realized that I didn't quite like the continuity in how that, or rather those videos went. So I think I'm going to try and recycle some of the content that I had, and we'll be doing something different, but learning the key concepts for the elements that we want to work with. So for example, let's actually get started in how our PHP works. So we'll just take it as a new lesson, or we are starting afresh. We're going to be doing some of the things that we've done before, but we're just going to do them in a slightly different manner. Okay, so when we are working with the PHP, we need to work with XAMPP. So XAMPP is like our project manager, or is like our web server. So if you understand your XAMPP, or whichever alternative that you've got, you'll be able to actually create your own sets of websites, among other things. So to actually get XAMPP running, we need to go to my start menu. I go to XAMPP. I select control panel. So control panel is where everything runs. Okay, so for example, when I right click like that, you can see I've got Apache, MySQL, FileZilla, Mercury, and Tomcat. What we want to work with is Apache. So I just click on start so that I start my Apache. And then if it turns green, it means that I've run it successfully. If I click on start again on MySQL, and if it turns green again, I've successfully done that as well. So what this then means is I've already started working on my content, and this is what my content shows, or this is what I will have within my content. Okay, so when this is running, I then have my local host, which will be running, and would then mean I can be able to see something here. Hosts like that. So perfect. My XAMPP is running well, and the moment I get to see this page, it means I've got my website running as I hope it should be. Okay, so what this then means is at this particular point, I've got my setup running and it's in order. I'm sure you can go on YouTube and see how you can install XAMPP, test it, and make sure it's working well. So that's how we'll then be working with our websites. So for us to actually have access to this page, I need to go to my C drive, and then under XAMPP, and then under XAMPP I find htdocs. htdocs is where I find this particular website. So this particular website is written dashboard. If I come here, I've got dashboard, which is a folder that is on my htdocs. If I open it, I'll be able to see what we are viewing there. So everything that is contained here is pretty much our page, or pretty much our pages that we'll be working with as we are creating our PHP files. So with our PHP files, we work with PHP and HTML and SQL at the same time. So we'll actually learn how to do most of those things. But in the first few lessons, we just want to create websites that show us how some of these things can be done, or how we can use them. So the first website we want to actually work with, I'm going to redo the initial website that we had, which was the portfolio website. Okay, so I click on new, I select folder, and then I want to put it as portfolio. So you must also do the same. You create a folder that is written portfolio like that. So for us to see that this is how it actually works, I need to click on a new tab, and then I put localhost Under localhost, I put portfolio like that. Okay, so if I can get to see index of portfolio, I've done well, or I've done what I'm supposed to do within my website. So it then means with my portfolio, I can now be able to start working on a given website. So how do our websites work? Our websites work by having the main page, which is called an index page. Okay, so we need to actually create an index page, which is why when we've got an empty folder, it tells us index of portfolio, meaning it was looking for the index, it did not find the index, so we need to then create our index. Okay, how do we then do that? I like to work with Visual Studio Code, which I find is quite easy to navigate, and it also helps you with errors, so to speak. So you at least need to have an idea of how the errors work, how the platform works as well, and you can be able to see what we can do with our Visual Studio code and learn from there. Okay, I was just working on other things before I closed it, so let me just close those so that we start on a fresh page and we see how we work with our PHP. Okay, I'm sure most of the stuff is gone, and here's how we do it. So with our Visual Code, here's what it looks like. We can simply go to File, then we go to Open Folder, because we want to work with a folder. It will then go to the last folder that I had opened, but that's not the one that I want. I simply go to my C, I go to XAMPP, I go to htdocs, I then open my portfolio folder, and then that's the folder that I want to select. Okay, so since it's empty, we'll then start building. Okay, this is just a security feature that they've got, but since it's me, I created this folder, you also me created, so there's really no need to worry about what it does. Okay, so we can create a new file, and with our new file, we want to be able to make it an HTML, like that, and then we want to be able to put some content, although I think let me just end there and let me save it, because if I save it, some of these things that I'm doing won't necessarily be necessary, because it will start working. Index.php, we want to actually have it as index.php. Okay, so the moment that I've saved it, it now makes life easier for me, because as I'm working, it corrects me, or it puts the content that I need as I'm typing. Okay, so as it stands, we've got our index.php. Everything seems to be in order, but we need to add a few elements. So we put title like that, title again, and then maybe the title we had last time was Samson Banda, like that. Portfolio, like that. Okay, so we need Samson Banda, and that is the portfolio. We can save, and also we just need something that tells us that we are on the right page. So we need to put H1 and H1. So simply put, these are all tags that do different things. So the HTML tag gives us the entire body. The head tag gives us the top section of our page. The title page gives us what we want to see in that top section. The H1 gives us a heading. Okay, so that being the case, we now have it as follows. If we come back to our page and we refresh, you actually now get to see that what we have put can actually be seen on our page. So for example, this is our title, Samson Banda Portfolio. If we come to our code, we actually realize this is Samson Banda Portfolio, so that is our title. And then this is what we've got in our main page, which is a heading 1. And when we can come there, we'll see that heading 1 actually makes our text slightly bigger. Although we hadn't seen anything outside of our heading 1, but that's what our heading 1 does. So to then proceed, we then want to see how we can actually play around with our HTML and CSS, among other things. Okay, and I'm going to be breaking it down a bit simpler so that at least we can see how certain things work and where certain things are coming from and where we are going with what we are doing. Okay, so here's what we want to then do next. Already we've got our index.php, so we are good to go. We now need to create a folder. Okay, so I select new folder and then I want to call it CSS, like that. I also want to create a new folder. Okay, maybe I did it in the wrong place. I need it to be in the portfolio and I need this to be images, like that. Let's just check if it created a folder. No, it didn't create a folder, I just created a file. That's not what I wanted. Okay, let's see. Oh, that was a new file, my mistake. So new folder, and then we want images, like that. Okay, let's see if it did. Yes, this time it created an image setup. Okay, so what we now want to do is we want to create the next file that we want to be working with. We're just creating it. We'll then get to add content to it as we proceed, so that we get the basic elements out of the way. So we've got a new file, and then we want to save our file as, okay, save as. We want it in the CSS folder, and we want it to be style.css, like that. Click on save, then we're good to go. Okay, so what we then now need to do is we now need to reference this new file that we've created. So I'll come here and I'll put my link, and then I'll put a rel, which is a type of document that gives us this, which is called the style sheet. And then I need an href, which then actually locates where this file is. So it's CSS, then it's style.css, and then we would need to specify a type, and it's text CSS, like that. So in other words, if we've done that, we should be good to go. So we won't get to see what this does just as yet, but that is how we start working with our particular code. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to maybe give our page a little bit of formatting, or a little bit of some guidelines as to where we want to go. The first thing that we need to do is we need to put a header tag, whereby we are saying everything that we need to put, we need to know that there's a header that is contained somewhere. So let me just put my Samsung banner up there. We also need a footer tag. Okay, footer like that, whereby we can just put something copyright 2021 and copy, which gives us a copyright sign, Samsung banner, like that. Okay, so as it stands, we've sort of given it some sort of a guideline as to what we want to work with and the content that we'll be putting as we proceed. Okay, so let's just refresh and see what this does. So it really doesn't change much. It just gives us Samsung banner like we already had. Gives us a copyright sign and a copyright 2021 Samsung banner, and we know that we are dealing with a Samsung banner. Okay, so outside of Samsung banner's content, we then want to put some links, and these links will help us to go to various pages. Okay, so in our links, let's then put it as follows. So our links, usually we work with something that is easy or that has been done in some cases. Although it's not the only way we can do this, we can definitely have different ways of doing it. So we can have an unordered list where each list has an li, which stands for a list. And within our lists, we want an anchor tag that then links us to the next element. And we need an href, which should link us to our index.php. And the first element we want there is our home, like that. So what this then means is we've created a set of parameters that we'll be working with as we proceed. We want an unordered list where we've got our index, and our index takes us to a specific location, which is our home. So if we save this and we come to our page, we actually then notice we now have a home, like that. So this then means this is our initial page. Okay, but we may want to actually play around with this. Okay, let's say we don't want to name it conventionally our home. We want this to be our home. Okay, so we can simply remove home, and then we take this as it is, we cut it, we paste it there. Okay, we then save it, and my mistake, I opened the wrong browser. If I refresh, you then actually get to see that now my Samsung banner has now become my link, so to speak. Okay, but as it stands, we might need to change the heading 1 tag. We don't want it to be a heading 1. We've just done that so that you see what each element brings, but that then becomes the first step to the rest of the pages. Okay, we want to create maybe 3 more pages, and maybe close off the video so that we get to do the next stages in the next videos. This particular case, we want an about. That then becomes the next element. We want another link. We also want another anchor. Or we then put the last one. Okay, so we want a portfolio. We also want a contact, like that. We then need an href, and this href gives us our about.php. We need another href, which gives us a portfolio.php. We need another href, which then gives us contact.php, like that. Okay, so we then save this, and we've got our content in the order that we intend to see it. However, we don't have these files, so we now need to create new files. So I create a new file. I then just copy about.php. That's what I'll save it as. So I'll save the first one as about.php. I then need to create another one that I'll call portfolio. Go to new file. I save it as portfolio. Okay. I then create another file, which will be the last file. We create a new file, save it as contact.php, and then now I've got all my files in order. Okay, so for continuity, I'll just copy this and paste it in the 3 new files so that we've got exactly the same content. So copy, paste there, I paste there, I paste there. Okay, so I can click on save all. Okay, now the next thing that I just want to do is I want to put some extra code. Okay, so let's say I put a div, and then within this div I just put the following. Now we can work with our h1 that we worked with before. h1, like that, and I need this to be my about. Okay, so this then becomes about. I can just copy this code so that I paste it in the other pages. This then becomes portfolio. The next one becomes contact. And then this becomes home. Okay, so after doing this, I think everything now is in the same order. Let's see how it looks now. Okay, perfect. So as you can see now, to know that we are at the index page, that's the one that we saved as home. So as it stands, we are actually at the home page. If I click on the next element, which makes it about, we then move to the next page. If I click on the next element, takes us to portfolio. If I click on the next element, takes us to contact. If I click on the next element, takes us back to home. Okay, so in other words, we have created our page and the links to our page. Okay, so we also still need to add some content wherever we are then designing or working with our page, although it still doesn't look very appealing or nice because we're still working with it. and we then need to see how we work with certain things. Okay, so to just maybe give a simple example of what it is that we're learning here. We're learning PHP. Although we have just been working with HTML all this time, let's maybe just put some script. Okay. You are home. Okay. I think my syntax should be in order. I didn't get any errors. Perfect. So there we go. It tells us you are home. So this is an example of your PHP script whereby it gives you how your script should look like and what each element is pretty much about. Okay, so we can end our lesson here, and we'll continue in the next lesson.